Oh, one second. The weed's really strong. Oh, dear. Oh. Yeah. I love this shirt. Anyway, I was just thinking about something and I was like, oh man, I kind of want to talk about that. And sometimes the best videos are the ones that I just do on a whim. I don't think about them. Yeah, let me adjust my legs here in the tent, you know? Whoa. Okay. You know, they took away Michael Phelps' Olympic medal because he smoked cannabis. And they called it a performance-enhancing drug. How does cannabis enhance your performance for swimming? Simple. Clears up your lungs. It increases their capacity by clearing out garbage. It's good for that. Yeah, there's some carcinogens involved in smoking it. That's not too great, but the respiratory benefits of just a little bit of cannabis, yeah, they're good. They're good. I'm sorry, I've lacked an outline for the last 3 minutes. You ever see yourself as like a cartoon character? Well, I've been so high and I'm just now coming down from the rocket trip, and now I have an outline again. Why am I talking about things like this? Let's talk about Princess Mononoke. That's what I want to talk about. Just want you to know where I'm coming from right now. Finishing off. What do we got here? Let's drink this during this video. It's about right here. It's about here at the first one. See? Oh, it's like a whiskey shot to me. Damn. Okay, now I'm in the headspace. There's the omake. There's the preamble. The camera's down low. I want the camera here. Princess Mononoke was one of the first things in anime I ever saw. It left a deep, lasting impression on me without really fully understanding why. And as I have continued to rewatch it over the years, it has only become more poignant and impactful and cool. That's the abstract. Let's barf about Princess Mononoke. Arguably, probably one of my favorite animated movies of all time. A big reason for that is the music. It's perfect. Just like Miyazaki's former Castle of Cagliostro, the musical score set the tone and the mood of the story and the plot in the most perfect way. The way the music in a Dragon Quest game that Yuji Horii would direct perfectly captures the grandness and epicness of the story at hand. And, you know, second abstract, column 1B, is the social commentary via a juxtaposition of an early version of Japan that hasn't yet begun to import materials from other countries other than like the Danes. It was Danish, wasn't it? That they were the only ones that Japan would trade with for a very long time. And the only things that Japan would allow to be imported from the Danish was their woodwork, because the Japanese were like, yo, the Danes know how to work wood better than us, and we're already like the best in the world, but the way they're doing stuff with wood, we want their stuff in our country. Everyone else sucks. Y'all rest of you are idiots. The Danes are the only ones who know how to craft things well and understand the materials that they are building their legacies out of. They understand the beauty and the fineness of well crafted and treated wood. And that's all Japan would trade with. And metal, iron, like this is before steel was widely being made. All Japan had was iron. And even like the way early weapons and farm tools were made was out of precious iron that came from just gathering gravel and dust from like the mountaintops and the mine shafts, and to put those in a crucible and heat them up. And what happens is that all of like the dirt and the dust just gets burned up, and all of the metal sand starts falling to the bottom of the crucible. And that's how they refined the metal from the sand of the mountains. And then the bottom of the crucible was made very, very specifically so that once all of the metal became molten and fell to the bottom, they would crack open the bottom of the crucible, and that's where the lump of tamahagane came out. This is all the metal that was in that sand that we have extracted. And that was how Japan was getting a lot of its iron at the time, was through a very difficult process of smelting sand that has particles of metal in it. And that was like the process they used to get it. See, once I learned about these things, Princess Mononoke became a lot more interesting, honestly. Anyway, it's a story of a young man from a tribalistic village. He's trying to live his life with nature and coexist with all that is around him without impeding too much upon it. His people want to live in harmony with nature. We don't want to disturb the balance between our life and that which we use in our high-rise treehouse, indoor society. And then that warthog god, its rage becomes so powerful. Like the black mucus worms that are like spewing out of the wound in its eye as it just, rampages to the countryside, absolutely furious. And Ashitaka is the one that races out on his noble, cool elk, goat, horse, equine, donkey thing that he rides on. I love that creature. It's so beautiful. Good horse, goat thing. And he's goes out there with... This is why when I play Elden Ring and I ride around on my horse with a bow and arrow fighting dragons, I'm just like, this is what Ashitaka did, bro. It's how he took down a god. Like, I love this movie. But, the warthog, it was a raging, angry god filled with vengeance that didn't get enacted. Because the one who gave him the wound that turned into that black, festering plague that spewed out of its eye, it wanted to go back and destroy the person that wounded it. And because Ashitaka killed the god, now the rage and anger unfulfilled from the angry warthog god plagues Ashitaka's arm. And the elders of his village are like, yo, dude, an angry, dying god is living in your arm and took residence inside of it. And you gotta get the hell out of here because we don't want that smoke in our tribe. You need to go find a way to placate the anger of this god for the good of the land. But just know that whether you succeed or fail, you're gonna die either way. You cannot change your fate as far as your life expectancy. You are going to die. But if you truly love this land, you will use the remaining time you have before this god of wrath overtakes you, or you die to your own rage as it infests your mind. One way or another, your end is coming soon. So you better go out and placate the anger of this god of nature. Because if it dies inside of you, it will find another person to continue this chain. Do you want to be responsible for that? That's a grand, noble quest. I'm not in it for myself in any way because my fate is already decided. It's like Shadow of the Colossus, you know? Also a game where you ride around on a cool horse. And again, this was like, my introduction to anime was like Magic Knight Rayearth, Rurouni Kenshin, Cardcaptor Sakura, Flame of Recca. And then my comic book guy gives me Princess Mononoke. He's like, I want you to see this so much, I'm not even going to charge you to rent it. You know, just bring it back in a week. But I want you to see this so bad that I'm just going to let you have it. You know, but I don't know. I got my fan subs from a local comic book shop. He had like 700 VHS tapes, all kinds of anime fan subs for rent. Way before we distributed it on the internet. But Princess Mononoke changed the way I realized I could understand the world. Like, watch it. It was one of those movies where I watched it and I felt like I matured. Right? Because even if you don't understand all like the deep cutting social commentary about Japan and how like metal was super scarce, and even if you don't understand all that, it's very captivating. But now, older and at a deeper level, I really understand, you know, why like excuse my language, but the only way I really remember her as is the crazy iron bitch. It's the lady who is in charge of the destruction of the land to get as much metal as possible because metal is going to lead the future. And then you see, like, this whole story is really kind of like a metal versus wood story, honestly. The advancement of technology is symbolized through metal and ultimately guns and firearms. And you learn that crazy iron bitch who's destroying the world so that she can get as much metal as possible, because if she controls all the metal, she controls all of Japan. She invaded the territory and destroyed the shrine of an ancient warthog god. And this warthog god was so angered that his tiny little shrine was destroyed. It's the only thing I asked for. That when he charged in to seek vengeance against crazy iron bitch, she shot a Tamahagane, a massive beast ass, like 2-arm wielding, 25-pound, not rifle, but arm cannon. This thing fired a metal bowling ball at like 7,000 miles per hour from the explosive amount of gunpowder inside of that gun that she shot straight into the eye of the warthog god. And he realized that even his godlike powers of nature were not enough to fight against the guns of the crazy iron bitch. And so Ashitaka now has inherited the rage and fury of that god who was destroyed by the gun. And in the process of trying to reconcile the anger that is inside of him beyond his control, literally the wrath of an angry god, and all of its hate and fury and rage and blind vengeance seething and festering, causing your skin to zombify and leak off of your skin. Just Also, Ashitaka wields a sword that's like longer than Sephiroth and is super dope. And I'll never forget how cool the scene is when, you know, the Princess Mononoke, the Wolf Princess, you know, she gets like caught up by the thugs of Crazy Iron Bitch. And Ashitaka's like, no, that is the daughter of a wolf god. I already know what happens when you piss off a god. And if you take away the human child adopted by the 2,500 ton, 50-foot long, massive psychic talking wolf god, you guys don't understand. Like, San, she is the adopted daughter of that wolf god. She took that human and decided that she is one of her own children. If you guys kill one of her children, you're all gonna be effed. And like when he walks up to that one dude and just like bends his sword completely in half with his bare hand, seething with the black auric fury of an angry god, and it's like, y'all get out of my way. I'm gonna kill a hoe if y'all stop me. And then he takes Princess Mononoke back to the forest, and she's like poisoned. So they find what is basically like the Kirin, which in the Chinese mythology you have Genbu, Seiryu, Suzaku, and Byakko, but at the core of those is the Kirin, or the Kulin. It's pronounced different ways. But that's like the deer god. And it's actually kind of like Harry Potter's Patronus, actually, the deer god. And Crazy Iron Lady, she decides that I'm going to kill a god. And so as he's trying to take the Wolf Princess into this ancient, sacred, hollowed garden spring in the middle of the forest so that he can heal the Wolf Princess and placate the wrath of the angry god that is taking control of his arm, Gun Lady shows up and blows the head off the Kirin, and then its blood turns into like an aquatic sky beast that begins to spread across the entire world, looking for its head, because you can't kill an eternal god, and it will destroy the world until you return that which is rightfully it back to itself. And it's so cool, like, because Ashitaka knows that, again, whether he succeeds at this task or not, he's gonna die. He can't save his own life. But he does it to preserve the natural order of the world and restore balance to the advancement of technology with the necessary respect of nature in its natural state. And I don't know, I think that's why Princess Mononoke is one of the best movies of all time. Also, it looks beautiful and the music is amazing. But I saw that movie when I was probably like 14 years old, and I'm about to be 41, which is crazy. But no, that movie has always stuck with me. Like, I think about it all the time. It's just one of those things that echoes in the back of the mind at least once every 2 to 3 months for most of my life. I think it's an important movie because it teaches a person to look beyond themselves and what their own life means for themselves, and makes you look at what your life can mean and do for not just other people around you, but the world itself. And it's pretty dope. So, yeah, if you've never seen it, I think you should watch it, because it's really good. Anyway, thank you for listening. Appreciate y'all's time. And God bless. Later.